Hey, what's going on? I pray that everything's going all right with everybody. I know I haven't been consistent with my videos lately. I had to degauss a little bit. In degaussing, I had to make sure that I question all the things that I believe, question all my thoughts, and make sure that my heart is in line with where I'm comfortable with being, because in events that judgment comes today, I'm going to have to live with whatever I believe is the right thing to do. And that's where my mindset is about everything as a whole. The one thing that I made a conscious decision about, or I thought I made a conscious decision about, and I'm still making that decision, is that I would never do the wrong thing for success at the expense of others. And I mean that, and I'm sticking with it. The thing is that as I'm driving in to work just now, I had not a vision, but I had a dream. And in that dream, I was told that I can't work. I cannot have 2 weeks off on vacation. All right? In that dream, the person is taking off whenever they choose, and they're doing whatever they do, and they control my ability of getting funding while I'm under them, almost like a slave master, if not a father to a son. You would hope that a father to a son would want the same exact things to his child that he wants, as Abraham did to all those he adopted. Now, how he allocated everything was a different story. It was based on purpose. But I ended up telling the person the same thing that Amlak, Meshach, and Abednego kind of portrayed. No, we won't do it. No, we can't promise that. In the event that I do something different, I will do something different. So, with that being said, I said to the person that a lot of people have this connection in this world in which they control a lot of stuff, and they have allies in which control other stuff too. To the extent if somebody tries to run or if somebody tries to leave, then they're stuck in a world where they still have to deal with other people's allies. And as I'm saying that, I'm thinking about Into the Badlands now. I'm thinking about Into the Badlands now. This lady decided she was going to speed to make a left turn on me just now, and she didn't have the indicator. The reason why is because the world went bad, and on the outskirts of the world, I'm guessing that eventually in the series they're going to say they're paying the people on the outlands something, and in the Badlands it's divided up by barons. And if you know the history about barons, you know, they made their positions by war, by theft, by piracy, by marauding, and that kind of thing, until it became so powerful that no one could be able to go against them. So they made their own civilization, in a sense. Now, what I also said to that person is that they have desires, and they have wants, and everything else like that. So do we. And unfortunately, because how this world is designed, some people will find it harder to be able to meet their desires, their wants, and their needs. Some people will never, ever see those desires and wants and needs come into fruition unless they do something illegal. And that's some sad stuff. Because at the expense of others, you're willing to do what you will need to do to gain for yourself. Very few people honorably do anything to connect to the people, to grow themselves up to be able to serve the people, like the true Malak of Yisrael is supposed to be able to do. He's supposed to be totally capable of being able to serve his people, not just from the words of his mouth giving orders, but the love in his heart, making sure all needs are met. And now we're dealing with what it takes to build the kingdom for the sake of Yah. Now, in my heart of hearts, thinking that some people will not be able to do and have what they want, I then thought about myself. And I said, for the sake of not doing the wrong thing, I have put off being married. I've put off having children, because the way this world's designed and where my finances are, I'm not able to afford it. And that's a sad case. It's easily construed as well that you have to meet the right person and everything else of that nature. But oftentimes, women have the notions and thought processes that they have because they see what happens in the event of poverty and what poverty does to people. And some women do whatever somebody says, not because of the fact they actually want to, but because of the fact that they don't want to go backwards and be in a worse predicament than they were beforehand. So all that stuff has come into my mind and it's come into fruition in my thoughts and in my heart. And all I can do is say, when you are scheduled to be off, go home. When you're scheduled to be in, go. Do everything that you're supposed to do within the confines of the time that you're supposed to do it. When you're home, the confines of the time that you have at home is your responsibility to use wisely, because it's the only resource, it's the only finance that comes that is a situation of maintenance that you didn't have to pay for. It just exists. And in saying that, every second counts for the sake of building yourself up positively and securely and healthily. People are not going to understand that, and people are not going to care. But you need to make a decision about what's more important to you and what's more important to our people. I don't know how to explain that any other way, and I don't think that this video needs to be any longer. When you need to work for someone else in order for yourself to have food to eat, to have clothes to wear, to have medicine, and to be able to have all the resources that are needed to be able to live, just naturally live, then, I mean, you're in a situation of, I'm not going to say capitalism, but slavery. Because a servant deserves his hire, and never does that hire have to do with anything outside of making sure that this servant is procuring more, is procuring better. The only servants that go through things and are not able to make something of themselves are slothful servants, are servants who only seek out the pleasures of this world, drinking and smoking and hanging out and doing all kind of dysfunctional nonsense. A servant who is wise is able to take up other skills and stuff to be viewed in esteem if the person is not wicked, or if the person is not focused on self, which also means that that person is wicked. I mean, if a servant actually cares about the well-being of the people and everything, then they'll do whatever they have to do to build themselves up to be able to do it. One of the functions of a servant who actually builds himself up is, number one, nobody in the text that was a man could not have the ability to procure some kind of food to be able to take care of themselves during issues of famine or issues of orphans being around. They had enough to take care of themselves and then some. They were wise enough to be able to do that. So, where are your food stores at? Not the grocery store. And the grocery store uses a word that's very important to us that you gotta be careful with. The word store can also be interchanged with the word bank. That's why they have a food bank. Okay? A barn yard, if you will. A barn. A place for storage. A place for facilitation. A grocery store is not a place to store food. A grocery store is a place to buy food, which means you're participating in a capitalistic system, in a capitalistic society that's designed to hold you down. And you're ingesting things that are making us sick. My brother Paul Muhammad shared a video from, I believe, Wesley Muhammad of the Nation of Islam. And it was talking about the feminization of men and how the things you eat are making you sick, and how the medicines that they're giving you are making you sick. And every single time they do these studies, they do it on the basis of race and sex. A servant is able to procure food. A true servant of Allahai, of Yah, is able to learn skills, masonry, being able to put fixed stones together to where they're stable, with or without mortar, for the sake of having a habitat, for the sake of having a wall, for the sake of making a well, whatever you gotta do. Now note, the United States government has things written down, as most barons do, as most lords do, as most kings of thieves do, to which, in order for their system to work, you have to abide on a certain level so that nobody is able to take more than what they call their fair share. So, storing things in certain states is illegal. So, there's people going to jail for storing water. There's people in the United States of America that are having issues to the point where they are losing farmland and having their animals put to death. Not even sold, man. Put to death for not abiding in rules. They're having crops taken from them because of the fact that there's a genetic engineering company out there copyrighting stuff, and that genetic engineering company is seeding their crops that they purchased, they buy. These are all things that you need to know. And I'm wondering if that's a police officer or what. Yeah, no cop. They were going all the way out in the street just now to figure out who's in front and what's going on. But, anywho, like I said, I'm sorry I took another 7 minutes of your time. I did not mean to do that. Build whatever you gotta build on outside of your 9 to 5. If you get off at 5 o'clock, that means that from 5 o'clock p.m. till 8:30 or 9 o'clock a.m. is your time to build. So obviously include into it the time you gotta get to and from work and whatever you gotta eat or whatever, but you should be building. And that's something I understand now more than anything. Love you guys. Be blessed.